Thank you today for coming to Leadership Forum of Silicon Valley. We're very honored to have some guests today, and thank you for using this afternoon and join us for a discussion that has been heated among the Asian communities. It's after the post-Harvard discrimination lawsuits this year in July. What changes are we facing, and what's next should we do as Asian Americans? I would like to introduce the organizations of today's event. First of all, I invite Diana Ding to introduce about the Civic Leadership Forum and Ding Ding TV.
Thank you so much, Marianne, and thank you everyone for coming. I'm Diana Ding, the founder of Ding Ding TV, and today you're here to participate in Civic Leadership Forum. This event started from 2016, focused on talking about important issues for our Asian Americans. We host this event 4 times a year. We have invited over 200 speakers and over 3,000 participants. So please pay attention to this, and I hope you will come back to join us for this forum. And also, we are the organizer of Asian American Stories video contest. So that is the video competition. Subscribe 1-minute video, tell your Asian American stories. You have a flyer with you, and check it. And also invite your friends or family members who's interested to participate in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. And next, I would like to invite Jeff Tan, who is a board member of Silicon Valley Chinese Foundation and a school board member for Orchard School District of San Jose. Could you introduce yourself and your organization?
Thank you, Marianne. I'm glad to be here attending this forum and discuss these important topics. Silicon Valley Chinese Association Foundation was founded because of the similar issue related to the Harvard. Because in California, in 2014, we have a famous the registration called SVCA 5, which later become Prop 16, which basically discriminates Asian American students admit into University of California. That's we founded this organization, and we fight it with SFA, which is the organization suing Harvard, and we supported them all the way from the beginning and to the end. We are so glad we won the lawsuit, and we are hoping that with that victory, we will bring the justice to the California Asian American kids. But the reality is pretty sad. So we need to still focus on this topic and to see what we can do. Thank you.
Yes, I remember that SVCA, the first panel discussion about affirmative was here, hosted here. Yes.
Thank you, Jeff. And third is myself. I'm the moderator today. I also represent U.S.-China Chamber of Commerce, Silicon Valley. I'm the current president. Actually, Diana Ding was our former president. We are a Chinese American-focused, Asian American-focused Chamber of Commerce. Our goal is to unite and support small to medium-sized business owners in our ethnic group, and to increase the network and support the business development of our business owners. We also want to provide legal and social support, and broadcast as a group, we can make friends with other business owners beyond us so that we can create a healthy, thriving business community. And today, today's event sponsor, Peter Ho, representing Flex, is also one of our members. We thank him for bringing all the snacks and drinks for today's event and to welcome you. I'll let Peter to introduce himself.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Peter Ho. I'm from Flex College Prep. We've been in the college admission industry for 25 years. Everybody knows that before 2025, college admission is easy. If you have certain kind of measurement metric, you hit it, you get in. But after 2025, and also like COVID, everything was different. So what's usually those kind of Ivy school look for is very, very important. It's not compared with before. if you have good academic, it's not simply enough. You have to have so-called personality index. Can you be the impactor? Can you do something about your society? That's very, very important. Especially our Asian kids are very smart. We got a full SAT score. We got 4.0 GPA. We got 4.4 weight GPA. So, but how can you get in? If you don't hit in your personal, like a personality index, it's very hard for you to get into those kind of high-tier school. Especially we call HYPMS, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, and MIT. So if you would like to know more through our discussion, you can know what's the current trend. Also, you can learn more from our website. You have a folder on your chair. If you would like to know more or would like to make an appointment with us, feel free to do so. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you very much. As actually before a decade ago, I was used to be in the college admission business, and I work with a lot of students. I'm even that surprised to hear how the changes in standard has changed in the past years. So I'm glad Peter will bring some updated information. And last but most
Marianne, yes, excuse me just for 1 second. Yes, we have a CEO of Silicon Valley Central Chamber of Commerce, Silicon Valley. Javier,
sure.
here. Javier, nice meeting you. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
And we have a Vice President from U.S. China Chamber of Commerce, George Lee here. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. We want to introduce today our special guest who came here all the way from the East Coast, a young author, new politician, bringing his book. Some of you already own a copy. He's our special event and guest for today's Silicon Valley Leadership Forum. Kenny Xu, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kenny Xu. I'm the author of the new book, An Inconvenient Minority in School of Woke. And I participated in the Harvard and UNC lawsuits, the admission discrimination against Asians. I helped to publicize the lawsuit, served on the board of Students for Fair Admissions and the Asian American Coalition for Education. And now I'm running for US Congress in North Carolina. Asian Americans in general, we haven't really gotten involved in politics, especially except as tokens of one party or the other. And I'm running to change that, you know. I know that in California right now, they give a lot of so-called forums for Asian American politicians, but a lot of these Asian American politicians are more intent on serving the interests of other identity groups or of the Democratic Party than they are of actually supporting the culture and the culture of excellence that we as Americans all need to strive for. So that's why I wanted to go into politics. For those of us who say that this is not our time or we need to wait or we need to build businesses, I say this has to be our time. If not now, then when? You know, we just came off a big victory in the SCOTUS admissions case, but the government increasingly ignores our stories and ignores the culture of excellence that we try to bring to the rest of the country. So I wrote 2 books about this, which I am happy to talk to you about. But really, the next step for me is I want to represent your vision to the rest of America.
Thank you, Kenny. So today we're going to have, as you see, we have a special and panel from different aspects. We have a current California School District Board member and also actively involved in supporting our Asian communities' legal rights. And we got Kenny, who is out there speaking loudly as a book author as well as a political candidate. We have Diana, who's been very influential in this local community, running different programs, try to speak up for our Chinese Americans and Asian Americans. And Peter, as a professional college consultant, will be able to answer some of the relevant questions you might have related to the college admission topic particular. So I think we got a very strong panel. Hopefully we'll answer some of the questions you came here with. And maybe you will have new questions while you listen to our talk. And so later on, after speakers share, we'll have a Q&A session. And if you have specific questions, feel free to share them. I will leave some time for you. And at the very end of the session, and Kenny will be on that table and do the book signing. I would encourage you to buy one or more, and not only keep one copy for yourself, but bring some home to your friends and share the ideas. I have already bought a Kindle version, and I have bought an audio version because I'm too busy. I don't have time to sit down to read. So I try to be listening to his book in the car. I have to say, I actually fully enjoyed it so far. I haven't finished it, but I'm very impressed to have such a bright mind among us at such a young age to stand up to speak of us, and we need young people like him. So actually, I would like to come back, since Diana talking about, like share about Asian stories, and I think that's a perfect entry to get to know more about Kenny and Kenny's book. And I already heard people give me that questions coming to this event. It's like, can we learn more about you? How do you come to the journey of deciding what to do today, and how you decide to write your books, and what you plan next and why?
Yes, if for him or
Yeah.
for me?
Oh, it's
For Kenny, right?
Yeah,
For Kenny, yes,
yeah,
that's right.
Sorry, I had to ponder it for a second.
Right, I know. He was just
I had to ponder the question, how did I just come on this journey? It's kind of a big
yeah,
question.
because we want to hear your story.
Yeah.
I said
I
it's-
really want to know why you stand up and try to run the elected official,
It's,
and where you come from, yes.
the first thing you should know about me is that I have a strong faith. And for me, being a Christian is very important because I believe in something that is bigger than myself. I need to speak up for truth where I see it. And I also need to speak up for those who can't speak for themselves. That's the other part that really motivates me. For a long time, right, it was assumed that Asian boys, Chinese boys, were in class, they would study, and they wouldn't speak up. And they would just do what the teacher told them to, and they would do what their parents tell them to. They would just sit there and do math, and they would be valuable as an engineer or a doctor someday. That was the perception of a lot of Asian boys, and I saw that negatively affect a lot of my friends. Me, it affected me because even though I had a variety of interests, I love to write, I love to speak. And I love to socialize in some ways, although I'm kind of introverted. But I love to write and I love to speak. I always felt a pressure to, you, Kenny, need to choose the stable career. You, Kenny, need to just choose to, I guess, be like the other boys in your class who look like you. And I have to be honest with you guys, it didn't just come from the white people in my community. It came from my own Asian American community too. And so I always felt a desire to speak against that. Because I believe that we Asians have so much potential that is unrealized if we just found our voice. Then for a long time, I stood up for my friends when, they were being bullied. And then I stood up for myself. I felt sometimes I had to stand up for myself when my teachers would tell me I can't say this or I shouldn't say that, and that desire really propelled me to want to be different. I wanted to be different, no question about it. So, yeah. I think that's a good start.
Sure. I actually want to dig a little further. When I hear you say you want to be different, then how did you end up choosing to write the book we were reading here today? And now we know you decided to go for an election being, go for the Congress. That's another further step. How did you arrive that decision, in the past 2 years?
Well, I'll start off with the book. One of the worst offenders of this whole stereotype of Asians, especially Asian boys, is Harvard. And they've always assumed that if you were Asian, you were just going to go and be some math nerd and be a doctor. And so they would pivot their judgment on you based on that. That is one of the reasons why they discriminate against Asian Americans, because they assume that we're just going to follow whatever our parents tell us to do and go and be doctors and engineers. And they think, well, therefore, that must mean that we can't accept too many of them because we simply don't want too many doctors and engineers. We want politicians, we want service workers, we want other people, we want stars, rock stars, And they don't see the rock star personality in a lot of Asians. And I think that was the tipping point. That was the inner motivation for me to write this book, An Inconvenient Minority, because the truth is, they don't know that. They don't know that. They're making a prediction, they're making a guess. But I myself declared math in college, and maybe I was expected to go and be math, but I ended up pivoting very early on in my career into politics and into writing. And that's something that I don't think Harvard would have predicted. I don't think a lot of people in society would have predicted. My parents didn't even necessarily predict it, but I have to say, the greatest blessing I have in my life, besides a strong faith, is the support of my parents. There's absolutely no question that sometimes when I decided to go against the grain, my parents would argue with me, they would criticize me, but eventually they would come and they would say, okay, I don't know exactly what you're doing, but I support you. So when I said I wanted to be a writer and I wanted to write this book, it wasn't going to come, it's not like there's a salary that's attached with your book, with writing a book, right? But it was my early 20s, and I just finished through college, and I had a lot of life ahead of me, and so it was important for me to stand up on this issue, and my parents said, okay, that's good, So they were helpful in that regard, too. And it turns out that this book that I wrote ended up becoming a bestseller, ended up getting me on Fox News, ended up getting me on CNN, ended up getting me all over, and really became a benefit for the movement because it helped a lot more people to understand some of these struggles of a lot of Asian Americans. When Harvard tells you, when college counselors tell you that if you want to stand out to people of your own race, you have to have some standout trait, they don't mean we need you to play better violin or we need you to do more math. And when Harvard says we really need you to have some standout trait, that's really them saying we really don't want more Asians. Because Asians are so stand out in these things that it's just viewed as that it's almost viewed as boring to them. The fact that you're so good at something that takes an intense amount of skill, concentration, determination, like violin and piano, extreme determination, cognitive ability, putting your feet on and creativity too, to master an instrument like that. And Harvard just looks upon that and they're like, oh, that's not that excellent. We would prefer if you grew up in abject poverty in Baltimore and you were black. That's what they would say, and the truth is what that is that's a replacement of one person's awesome story with another person's awesome story. But that's them making a judgment between those awesome stories and saying one awesome story is more awesome than this other awesome story. So when Harvard says, oh, tell your stories, they don't really mean tell your stories. They say, tell the stories that we want to hear. That's what they mean. And so that was what really propelled me into writing this book.
Yeah, Yeah, I actually got intellectually challenged when I listened to your book, and there are a lot of ideas and perspectives I've never thought of. I thank you very much for that sharing, and I'm sure you just enjoy it as much. And then, if you have more questions, you can ask him later. And I actually would move, to Diana, since Diana has been a journalist herself for her life, being an interviewer and then interview many politicians from all ages, and doing this special series about telling stories for Asian Americans. What do you think about this story you just heard?
Well, Kenneth, thank you so much. I'm also a Christian, by the way. So, you are so right. I cannot agree with you more about government ignored our story, and our story was replaced by other people's extraordinary stories. And also our stories, they want us to tell our stories in the way they like, not we like. That's so true. That's the situation. That's what's happening right now. Who set the rule for the personality of the rocky star, of the politician, of the whatever? Who set up the rule of that? Because their story have been told many, many, many more times. But our story have never been told, have not been told. So that's why they set up the standard in that way, not our way. So it's time for us to tell our own story and set our own rule. Because if we don't tell our story, nobody is telling our story. Nobody is interested in telling our story. But I would say they want to hear our story. They want to learn our story. So we need to stand up and tell our stories. So that's something I found, because exactly as what you said, yes. You go there and they tell you, hey, come and share your stories. But when they hear something not in their own way, they will say, well, why don't you say this? Why don't you, they try to change you. They try to give you the instructions, and certain ways for you to tell your story. So that's why it's very important. We organize the Asian American Stories video competition. The purpose is encourage everybody to tell our story. And then we will find the winners, or some people truly inspired, and we'll find them and to expand their story. Because I feel like if you search on YouTube, if you search on internet, everywhere, we told our story, but in our own language. We need to tell that in English, because that's the language that everybody understands. This is really important, because when I'm sitting here listening to Kenny's story, this is story typically many of our Asian Americans, especially Chinese American stories. A person like him, if you just sitting there, look at him, you won't believe he want to run the congressman. You won't believe that. When he first came in, I look at him, I told him, Kenny, have we met somewhere before? I thought we met somewhere because you look familiar. You know what he said to me? He said, I couldn't remember.
Not politician.
Yeah, that's so genuine. That's so direct. That's so genuine. But we should really open our heart to people and to sit down here and listen to each other's story. Not only tell story in our own community, but we tell the story among Asian American community, different ethnic groups, and also to the mainstream. That's really important, not only to ourselves. So we open our hearts and listen to their stories. Your story is very inspiring. Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you, Diana, explaining from that perspective. And similarly, he actually mentioned he was going as a math major, and then he took a turn to go for politics. That's actually very unique. I mean, there's nothing wrong of being excellent in math. But the fact, as you mentioned, very few Asian kids will go into politics, go into arts, go into theater. Similarly, in this society, even looking at sports, they don't care you play badminton. They don't care you play ping pong. They want you to play football. They want you to play baseball. Unless it's sport, it's already popular in their culture. They don't recognize it, right? Is that true in college application? Do you want to talk a little more about hearing Kenny, as a student, what he did, and the students compare the students you look at every day in your job? What would you tell those kids when they plan their, I see a youth here, when they plan their activities and plan what they do in college? Do you have any advice?
Thank you for having me. So Kenny, I agree with you 120%. So like in 2016, Harvard published a report called Turning the Tide. They are saying that we are not emphasized for individual achievement, or even though they have well-rounded academic or perfect activity, we will not take you in because you don't have your personality. Like you're saying, sometimes if you are apply for impact major, computer science, engineering, biology, psychology, econ, or business, you have to adjust your school ranking a little bit. Like this year's UC, you guys will be surprised. The UC ranking for a couple years down the road, UC Davis has never ranked number 28. UC Merced never ranking number 60. Okay, LA Berkeley come with 15 ranking. UC Davis 28, San Diego 28, Irvine 33, Santa Barbara number 35, and UC Merced come to 60. Riverside number 76, UC Santa Cruz number 83. Because this year, their ranking system, they are adding to social mobility and different factors. So that's why you can see why Duke and the Columbia and the Chicago, they are ranking out of top 10%. Chicago ranking number 18, Columbia number 12. Used to be top 10, top 5, but not anymore. Like Kenny saying, if you want to do the math major, if you are Asian, especially in Silicon Valley, a lot of Chinese, a lot of Indian students, they are very outstanding. It's very hard to stand out. Stand out means you have your own personality, your own story. If you don't stand out, if you don't have your own story, it's gonna be really hard for you to get in, because we have so many good kids. Look at Lynbrook, Monta Vista, Secret Heart, Harker. Every single year, so many outstanding kids. They are Olympia, math championship, or quarterfinal for a certain kind of scholar, or they run the research paper. But how can you get in? Those kind of private school, they want to pick the thing they want to select as a student, as an applicant. So if you want to apply for Ivy or Ivy Plus major, you need to be very unique. What I'm saying is that to enhance your chances, if you're from Nebraska, if you're from New Mexico, as an Asian, you definitely have better chance, but not for Silicon Valley. People know in Cupertino, you have resources everywhere. You need to take a 20 AP, 15 AP, SAT perfect score. But now you see they don't take SAT or ACT no more. But what about the measurement metrics? That's your personality index. How could you be an impactor? How can you impact your society as a student? How can you bring your school become a better place for a better person? So that's why a lot of parents know, hey, my kids got straight A. They got 5 AP, they got perfect SAT score. Why he or she's not getting to Harvard, Yale, or Stanford? Because number one, you got a wrong major. Number two, you don't have your personality index. Before 2025, you got those kind of score, you get in for sure. But after 2025, if you don't have your own story and your own personality, it's gonna be very hard for you to get in. The college you want to balance, female, male, different ethnic group. Like I want an African American, I want a Hispanic, I want a Vietnamese. I already have enough Chinese, so I don't want to take any more Chinese. Even Berkeley in LA, now Monta Vista, Lynbrook, before 2021, they have 35 to 40 Berkeley, UCLA each and every year. Now down to 20, because they cut a quota. That's the reason why it's very hard for our Asian American applicant to get into top tier school, unless you select an easy major, like Asian American study, anthropology, philosophy. And if you get in and doing a transfer, that's very, very important, because your last name, everybody doing the same thing, robotics, computer science, C class, Python, everybody looks so identical. How can you tell your own story? That is very, very important, like Kenny's saying. So that's some recommendation from me. Thank you.
Yeah, Kenny lived out his own story, and if you're still on the path and preparing for the college, Peter just gave some advice to think, besides doing what you like to do, also think from the other end, from the college perspective. How will they look at your resume, look at your story? Do you stand out as a different person, or just look identical as another kid in your class? I think that's a very good point. And that's from the individual level. We, heard everybody sharing their story, but I don't want to lose sight of, what we come here today to talk about the Harvard case. And as us, Asian Americans as a group, we have our own stories to tell. And I actually find it's the first time we stood out as a group to go against what the law tells us, the rule. Harvard had a rule written in their admission saying we're going to consider race as admission factor. And it looked okay for many people, and nobody challenged it. I'm actually still in awe. Who started to think, oh, this is wrong. We should not let this rule pass or last and stand there in the way of fairness. And thank God the Supreme Court actually ruled against Harvard, and we won the case. I think that's another story that I personally want to hear a little more and give us more perspective of what we're fighting today. I actually want to Jeff to talk about this because I know you're personally involved in the whole process as an activist from here, Silicon Valley. He's usually quiet, but he's actually elected official, and he's done a lot for this amazing job for us. So can you tell us a little more story of what happened? How did you get involved, and what we actually achieved?
Yeah, this is a kind of personal story. For me, I was born in China and get a college education in China and come to US for my PhDs. And my job is always technical. So I never thought about I'm being an elected official. So this is something, totally weird to me. My personal journey, when I was in my early days talking about politics is something totally foreign to me. I was saying, this is not something I will touch for the rest of my life. I will never touch it. But time changes in 2014. I think it's just before the Chinese New Year. The wonderful California lawmakers, they passed a law. At that time, the bill in Senate called SCA 5. So SCA means Senate California Amendment Bill for the Constitution. So that is something dramatically impact everybody in our Asian community. So before that, California is a beautiful state. We have a wonderful proposition called 209. In that wonderful bill, we are saying we need to treat everybody equal. There's no race consideration should be in education. So that SCA 5 totally want to reverse that. It's saying we should be making it okay to consider race in college admission, in education. I'm just a regular Chinese parent, Asian parent. I have my own kids. I'm looking at the bill and saying, what kind of impact will have on my kids? My kids is very tough studying, and it's very tough to get into college right now with, even if he or she gets, 4.0 GPAs and full score on SATs. Now you are putting more barrier for my kids to get into college. So a lot of parents have the same idea with me. So the Silicon Valley Chinese Association Foundation was starting to form. At that time, there are people getting the effort together to make the first impact. And we are lucky enough at that time, we have some connections from the lawmakers in Sacramento. Otherwise, we would never heard of this thing. The bill passed the Senate. We'll need to go to the assembly. If the passed assembly, then it will become something on the governor's desk. If he signs, then it will become law. It will be implemented. So what we did is we did whatever we can. And at that year is just what you call the election year. And we did whatever we can to persuade all those people who has same ideology with us, try to fight this bill, and we success. We are so happy at that time, but unfortunately, the even worse bill was brought back later, called ACA 5. they are putting more things into it, making it even more difficult. And at that time, the political climate has changed. So it passed the Senate, it passed the Assembly, and because it's a constitution amendment, it has to go to the voters. So that's become Prop 16. Then at that time, that's 2020. We mobilize everything we can. We combine force with other organizations. And then there is a new organization at that time was formed called CIFA. It's California for Equal Rights. And we are one of the several original organizations to make that happen. And with, I think totally, we got maybe $7 million donation from all the regular Californians. And the bill proponents, they got 13 times of our money. But the truth is on our side. The vote finally come out. We are overwhelmingly defeat that bill. So we save that in terms of putting that particular things for a particular barrier for our kids. Unfortunately, the reality is they will bring that similar bill back again. So we are continuously fighting in California. That's we are saying, we found that organization called SFFA, Students for Fair Admission, is founded by Mr. Broom. And that time, we are fighting in California. He is fighting in other courts in the East Coast, in Texas, in North Carolina. So we decided to join force with them. And we're lucky that we are the first major supporter to their organizations. And then we invite Mr. Broom and come to California in 2015. And with our help, his organization started from a few hundred people, becomes more than 10,000 people within a week. So Mr. Broom is very appreciate all the support we have. Certainly, we also mobilize our members and donate the money to support this cause. So that the amount of money we donate to their organization is very tiny amount compared to the total cost of this lawsuit. And we invited Mr. Broom total 3 times, and in 2015, 2018, and last year, 2022. And we also sent our delegations, I think in 2018, when the first case against Harvard was opened in Boston. We sent our delegation there to support them too. And in last year, October, I also was in Supreme Court, when the case was hearing at that time. And we are so happy that, we had the Supreme Court agree with us, and we won the lawsuit. But look at the situation in California, what they do, all the announcement for the major university after they hear this decision from the court. They are certain. They want to make sure we know that they will continue their path in some way. So what we need to do is we need to continue the path and to fight this battle for our kids, to really have what we call it. We come to America just for the freedom, for the opportunity, for the equality, for the same equality of opportunity. If you work harder, you study hard, and your life will become better. This is American dream. We want to keep American dream. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff, for that heart-filling sharing. As you can see, everyone, as he said, he started with no plan as a normal parent, but because of his heart for his children, for his people, he really stepped out of the comfort zone and became part of the leadership and become part of the change that happened. And he also particularly mentioned at the end that even though we won one lawsuit, but we did not won the entire war. I mean, the war is still ongoing, but we had that first step. And I think it's very significant and it definitely worth celebration. I hear different voices, oh yeah, it can't change anything. No, it has. It has already made changes. And I think also in this process, ourselves are changed. We should believe ourselves that we don't have to be only just obedient rule followers. Yeah, we do want to be good citizens, but at the same time, that's what the core about civic leadership. The United States is a civic society. Everybody has a voice and everybody can make change to it because this is our country. And a lot of times I feel the problem with Asian Americans and Chinese in particular, we did not grow up in a civic culture. And so we are used to listen to the authority. We thought we can only be the passive receiver of the rules that already exist. That's not true. US law has been continuously changing and evolving, and a lot of times going to the direction that's even go against the Constitution established by the forefathers, but people are not aware and don't speak up. When people just make changes, that's not right. And that's why it's important that when we notice those problems, we need to have people to speak up and say, no, we can't have that change, or we need to go back and we change to the right way. I'm so appreciative, like today we have all these leaders in front of us. I just want to open now to any of the speakers. If you want to add, like I know Jeff particularly talking about opportunities, the equality, and when I read your book, Kenny, and in particular talking about the excellence, and that's another thing. When I reading your book, I felt like, yes, I came to a country because this is the best country in the world. It has the best technology, has the best education, has the highest GDP. Is a lighthouse for the society, for the world, supposedly. But now this country is taking a turn that we don't have a standard anymore. We are not proud of ourselves holding a standard. We're dropping the standard so that we have to be equal for everyone. Is that really a good change? Should we challenge it? What do you think? Or any of you?
I think this part, and I will leave this for Kenny to talk about, but when you're asking about any suggestions or any other thing you want to add on, I would say that it's really important for us to work together because, our impact is not enough. Our voice is too small. So working together is critical important. Like today, we all here from different organizations and sitting here, work together. We also really like to call for the collaborations with each one of you. If you have idea, if you want to organize events, benefit our Asian Americans, coming to us. Yeah, please come to us. We would like to work together. Not only our Chinese American, Asian Americans, or ethnic groups, anyone would like to work together because we have to build up our allyship. When something happens, who is your ally? So I think that's really important to work together. But for the question you asked, I think Kenny has a position to answer that question.
Yeah.
Yeah, talking about equal, yes, equity.
Oh, yeah. Excellence. Do you mean how they're the opposite?
Yeah,
equity and
her
excellence?
question, actually, she's talking about is, many of the elected officials or people were, they want to find the equal to everyone. But that's not really equity. We're talking about equity, inclusive, diversity. So what's your comments about that? And what do you think the direction?
Well, I think we should understand that Americans are some of the most hardworking people in the world. We are. We didn't get to where we are in the world if we didn't work hard. it doesn't make any sense. You know, oh, like we just suddenly have become the highest GDP in the world, but we're all lazy. No, it's not true. We actually, Americans, the average American works a lot more than the average European, who works, you know, a lot more than the average person in the world. Now, in terms of, so I don't necessarily, I still think that we have a lot to care about and to appreciate about our country. I just think that our country is not appreciating those values. We're not appreciating what has always made us different about the world. We are not appreciating what has always made us different about living in America compared to living in China or, you know, or Korea or, you know, other Asian countries or something like that. I think over back in the screen, the opening video, they talked about, well, we need to appreciate what makes people different. And I think that we should appreciate that we are different. America is different. We should be strongly associating ourselves with those values of hard work, excellence, those kinds of things. It's not taught in our education system. The education system likes to vilify America, makes us seem as if we're the oppressor. Well, why is it that if we're the oppressor, if America is the oppressor, why is it that as our country has gotten rich, the rest of the world has also gotten rich at the same time, and the countries that we've been most involved with have also gotten rich while we've been involved with them? So we're the oppressor? Really? If you're the oppressor, then as your country gets rich, the other people around you get poor. That's what oppression really is. We're not the oppressor, we're the inspiration. We're not the oppressor, we're the leader. You know, so we need to realign ourselves with that moment. We need to realign ourselves with that core kernel of truth.
Candice, I have a question. Yes, we really need someone like you who's willing to stand up and have our voice be heard. You're running for congressman. If you fail, would you run again?
That's a tough question to ask at this stage in my campaign.
Well, I want to see how persistent
because
you are.
I almost, as a congressman, you know, as a person who's running in politics, every day you get put under stress. Every day people tell you they don't like you this, they don't want you to do this. You can't listen to everybody, and you have to charge ahead. And so my mentality right now is that I'm going to win. So I'm not really thinking about what is happening after I don't win.
Well, of course, I truly admire that. But, you know, I see so many, especially Asian elected officials, many of them couldn't win for the first time. So they have to do it again and again. The question I'm asking is actually how persistent you are.
Well, take a look at how many books I've written. Take a look at how long I've been involved in this Harvard case. You know, I'll tell you one thing. I know that this is where I need to be. I know that running is what I need to do. I know that I'm uniquely positioned in the discourse, in my state, and in the nation. I have unique knowledge of the education system because I've studied it for so long. I have unique knowledge about how it's become so corrupt, which you can find out in my new book. And so I am running because I'm the most qualified person to run to fix our education system. I think everybody should know that. So if I see that other people are stepping up and they are more qualified than me to do these kinds of things, then I would happily, you know, give them the way to run themselves. But as of now, I am that person.
So this is a personality for the elected officials of our Asian.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Very positive, yes. I like that.
Yeah, I echo. Just say we've seen so many candidates, and Kenny strikes me as that kind of that quiet firmness. He doesn't speak as much. He does still carry that Asian male reservedness on surface. I don't know you well enough.
Oh yeah, we'll see. Maybe that's why I am reserved. I don't know you well enough.
Yeah, but from your words, I can hear the strength. I can hear the determination. I can hear the power, and you can believe that we'll all stand behind you. I would like to open if your speakers you have more to talk about. Okay.
Peter.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to add on something. So, after COVID, there's a social emotional learning and also mental health issue. So as a parent, I would strongly recommend you as a parent, don't push your kids to the extreme, because nowadays, I think going to Ivy or top tier school is only 4 years in your life. You have a lot more to do in your life. You have to find your career and your goal. Going to Ivy, which is definitely great, but not everyone is going to Ivy or Ivy Plus school. Like my daughter, she's going to Riverside with honor program. I'm telling her, nothing wrong with that. If you are happy with your choice, I'm totally respecting you. She said, Daddy, I can graduate in 3 years. I can pursue a master's degree with a better ranking school. That's something, I want to share with all the parents. I see a lot of people in Cupertino, Saratoga, Los Altos. The parents are pushed too much for the kids. The kids don't know how to handle their situation. Should they choose a major of their own, or they want to be a doctor, lawyer, or engineer? A lot of parents carry a lot of heavy words. Say, you got to carry our family tradition. You are the only son in the family. You got to be an engineer. You got to be a lawyer. So I would say nowadays our parents, like me and parents, as everybody else, you should change your mindset. Respect your kids. Encourage them. Like Jeremy Lin was born here, played basketball, so he was Jeremy Lin. But if Jeremy Lin grew up in China, Taiwan, or Hong Kong, he's not Jeremy Lin. So even though he's so amazing, he only go to Harvard because he's not qualified for Stanford. Because Stanford, as a recruit coach, they only have 2 or 3 spots. Last year, they chose Lopez's brother, which now play with Milwaukee. They choose the twin brother instead of Jeremy. So Jeremy go to Harvard with a 2nd division basketball. So a lot of things happening now. So I'm telling the parents, when you push your kids by the same time, you have to make sure their social, emotional skill and mental health is okay. Otherwise, it's gonna be a chaos for all the family members. Yeah.
At the same time,
Very good
don't
suggestion.
blame your. Don't ever think like, oh, I'm not doing a good enough job parenting or anything like. I mean, yes, we need to take care of our social, emotional needs for our kids and things like that. But at the same time, have you guys heard of Western parenting? No.
Tell us.
No, I mean,
what's the
you
way
can't just affirm everything. So if you start to affirm everything, then suddenly your kid comes home, they say, I want to be a girl even though I'm a boy. I'm not sure you should affirm that.
Yeah, the one thing I would like to add is, Kenny's book is called Inconvenient Minority, right? In his book, he mentioned many characters of our minority as Asian or as a Chinese. So since we are talking about it here, so we can specifically mention that most of Chinese parents, the focus is mainly on STEMs, right? Math, robotics. So for us, we have seldom have the opportunity or have the desire to let our kids to explore other field. So even as a lot of times kids learn from us, if you are only focused on these things and you do not open your mind, your kids cannot see many other things. So when I was first joining the SVCA and demonstrating for the unfair bill is in the assembly, I was carrying my little ones, 1-year-old little one, on my shoulder. So you can see that from 2014, now is 2023, the kids grow up. And she will feel the influence. And she will grow up and knowing that. We know in the school what they are teaching our kids, right? But now she at least knows, I'm a student. I do not look at any colors, right? As a student, they do not feel anything. But I'm telling that kid, although it's a little bit cruel, but I'm telling you, I was saying this is a fact. If you are doing the same thing as your classmates, just because your skin color is different, if you are doing that and they are doing that, they can go to this kind of school and you cannot. Do you think this is fair? So this kind of things we need to communicate to our young generations. And hopefully, he or she will turn out to be Kenny instead of somebody else, right? And also for us parents, we need lead by examples. So we need a lot of parents to join our fight to be our volunteers. Like, the organization we have, besides we doing that, fighting for that, half the lawsuit is our main focus. But now it's over and we are focusing on California. But there are many things we want to educate, we want to promote, we want to encourage all the Chinese community to participate in American political life. Because people are saying, if you are not at the table, you will be on the menu, right? On the table, right? Let other people eat you. So you have to, not for yourself, for your kids, for your future generations. SVCA is one of those organizations. And there are many other organizations too. They are equally good. And we need volunteers. Many people I know in Silicon Valley are very, very busy. They are working very hard. But all the volunteers, like, in our organizations, they not only contribute their time, they also contribute their money. And there is articles you can read about, there is the founder of SVCA wrote about the 9 year of his personal experience being the volunteers and how much he did, how much he devoted. But this does not mean you are taking away the time you are away from your kids. Actually, you lead them by examples. I was taking my kids, I was campaigning for former Assemblyman Kenson Chu. I took my daughters, knock on door-to-doors, handing out those flyers, and they learn something from it. So this is the part you are really was saying, the leadership, the maybe personal characters will look at, will care about it. So the other things I'm switching topics about is equal opportunity. For me is, all those people are saying, arguing about the Harvard case is saying, we want to give the other people, right, the equal something. What's that thing? Equal benefit, equal outcome. We are saying that America is the land of opportunity. So you should give them equal opportunity. And they're really saying they are just doing what I think is lip service. Is saying, when you come to college or come to jobs, I just give you something, just make you feel better. That does not really help the whole ethnic group. What you need to really to care is about the root cause of this. So talking about in terms of education, the real thing need to be fixed is elementary school, not Harvard. You cannot send these kids who do not know how to do calculations, send to them to the college, right? And you have to really make them to have the equal beginning when they go into the elementary school. So that's why you really need to care about their community. Instead of spending money on the top, you really need to spend money on the bottom. For me, I personally really, maybe I talk about this personal story about my election. I have been in the community doing community service for a long time, but I have never had any idea I want to be run. So I always push other people. I was saying, you're good, can you run, right? But I think in 2018, I think that's 2018. Yeah, in 2018, I was pushing someone at the last day of registration for election. All the people I pushed, they're saying, no, my wife does not like that. I do not have time. I got a new job or something. The registration deadline is 5 p.m. I ran to the registration office without telling my wife at 4 p.m. And I was saying, I want to put my name on top of it. Oh, they're saying, great. We love to have people like you. But they're saying those tons of forms you need to fill. The deadline is 5, and it's not possible to finish in 1 hour. Fortunately, they are saying, if in some special cases, if there's somebody incumbent is not running, the deadline is automatically extended for another 5 days. I was saying, okay. I took out the form back home and call me I will check you on Monday. That's Friday, right? If the deadline is open, then I will give it a try. So that's how I put my name on the ballot. And what I did is I just put my name on the ballot, and a lot of colleagues in SVCA Foundation, they are saying, we want to, knock on the door for you and donation for you. I say, no, my community is small. I know the community very well. I can handle it myself. So by the election, the first time I ever thought about it, I got the most vote. For the first time, got elected. So for me, is I really care about the community. I care about the student. So when I first elected, attend the first board meeting, I was saying, I may not be a very good board members, right? Because I have no idea about how this thing's running. I'm here to learn, but I will promise you, I won't be a bad one. Won't do anything bad if something that's not good for the community, not for the student. That's what I did for, before 2022. So that's why in 2022, I'm up to re-election. I simply filled my form and did not do anything. I was going to put up the flyer or the what do you call the yard sign, right? But somehow I messed up. I did not really have the yard sign did not arrive on time. But during the election, I still got the most vote for my re-election. And this year, so I become the board president of the board. For me, I see a lot of things need to be done. The money is spent where I don't think is where I need to spend. So a lot of focus need to be added. For me in our school district is so tiny, they do not have enough students to have most districtly take for granted, like advanced math class. So in our schools, if you are advanced, you still have to stuck with the same class. You cannot say, in Cupertino, in grade 6, you are taking different classes, right? Even you have regular, advanced, or most advanced. We even do not even just have a regular class. So what we did is we put on the auxiliary program for ourselves, special case. Yeah, a lot of people ask me that. For me, is saying my passion is education. So I will stick with education. And for me is in the school district, I can really make impact on students, on the community. So that's where my passion is. I have originally I have no impact, no interest in political advancement at all, right? So I will stick with the school board